We're live now. We're live now. Good afternoon and good morning, dear participants and speakers. Welcome to the Community of Democracy's Youth Leads event on youth participation in political processes, voters, candidates, and elected officials. I am Daria Onishko, CoD Program Officer on Gender Equality and Youth. And we are really glad today to be joined by numerous youth networks, organizations, and young leaders from across the world to explore practices in increasing youth participation in political and also electoral processes, including in pre- and post-electoral periods, as well as discuss how to really remove existing barriers for youth political participation at different levels and areas, such as, for example, the national legal and political frameworks. Today's event was initiated by CoD Youth Leads, a group of young activists and democracy leaders from different countries and world regions, from Canada and Estonia through Nepal to Haiti. They were brought together in 2020 as part of Community of Democracy social media campaign to engage and to also share inspiring stories about their contributions towards defending, promoting, and strengthening democracy. Please make sure to read their stories. We will put the link in the chat right now. Today, we will hear from young activists and elected officials from Andorra, Estonia, Lithuania, and also Morocco, who will share their experiences in these roles, also address the problem of youth lack of confidence in democratic institutions, and suggest practical ways to support young people in participating meaningfully in public life. Well, I must say that unfortunately, our dear friend Augusta Fedderson from OEC Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights is not able to join us today, but we wish her to feel better soon. And before we start, I just wanted to mention that please use the chat and the Q&A box to pose questions, and we'll come back to them during the later segment of the event. Well, without further ado, I would like to open the floor to our first speaker, Nidal Benali. And Nidal is the CoD Youth Lead from Morocco. He is also president of Moroccan Local Youth Councils Network. In addition, Nidal is a researcher with a bachelor in and also master degree in public law, and he's currently studying international relations and diplomacy. Nidal, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. So what are the strategies or practices that you utilize in Morocco at local and also national levels to increase youth participation in political processes? Nidal, please.
Thank you so much, and thank you for this amazing invitation. It's such a pleasure for me to be here today, and also it's another pleasure for me to take part and be a part of the family of a Community of Democracies and to represent Morocco and the Youth Lead group and team. And I would like, of course, to thank all organizers and to welcome all the participants that are watching us either in Zoom or on Facebook. Welcome to all of you. So actually, here in Morocco, there is a lot of long process, and maybe we can back like 20 years ago by time. And we are saying here in Morocco a famous sentence. We say that when there is a well, there is a way. So under the leadership of King Mohammed VI, there is a will. There is a will to give the youth a maximum participation in all level, and especially in the political level, political participation, of course. Before like 10 years ago, there was the new Moroccan constitution, the 2011 one. So actually that constitution gives a very large opportunities to all young leaders here in Morocco to participate either in local or in national level. That new constitution brought with that, of course, new laws, new dynamics that gives the youth leaders many opportunities. We can go by this dynamic or opportunity to talk about the civil society practices and also the political practices or process. We can go to the civil society one, where we did start after this new constitution. They open for us the door to create like youth councils in the local level, of course, and regional one. That local youth councils gives a broad trust to the youth that they lose the hope in constitutions or in different political institution. So we start in the process of creating local youth councils in the local level, and we start to be very close to the young and to the youth in the local level, and try to be the connection between the youth and the politician and the councils. So we started that process like 9 years ago, and after the next election, we start seeing that the members that they were like very active in the youth council, they start to be leaders of their city. So that was an amazing job that we did like 10 years ago. And going to the political level side, after the new constitution, the Moroccan law that brought a new method to ensure youth participation in parliament, which called the national youth list. And we had like a very good experience in that list, whether they did like give opportunities to young leaders to participate as a member of parliament, and to ensure a good percentage of participation in the parliament. And when we are talking about change or about youth or about new laws, we are talking about parliament, because it's the place where we can change and where we can define our rights, and especially the youth one. So after two elections from that, Morocco actually in this year, 2021, we are in a very special year where we are having the general election, the parliament, the local and regional one in the same day. But we did like not working anymore with the that youth national list, but we are moving to push more participation in local level. We can say that Morocco believes that real change and real participation of youth will start also from the local level. That's why in the next August we have the general and the parliament local election. So we start to doing a general young list in the local level. And we can see that there is a lot of change, of course, between the 20 years 10 now. Actually, but even that process, even that change, even that in Morocco, there is still like a lack of trust between youth and political parties, which means there is a very big problem, which we need to have a solution to it and to solve it. And some percentage shows that even with like 20% of young leaders that they are into local councils in their city, there is only 1% of youth that they participate in the political parties, which means it's a very very high percentage and difference between the 1 and the 20%. In another side, we can say that in general in the social media, you they participate with their opinion, with their views, or they can share also their opinion on social media. But we can see that in the political party. That's why it's very important to all of us here in Morocco. We are working to bring that trust of youth to ensure their participation in the political party. That's why this dynamic of NGOs and of civil society, of local youth council, we are trying to bring the trust to them and to collaborate and be the connection between the youth and the politicians. And I would like to finish my talk about a very important thing. The youth are the hope of tomorrow. We can say that, and we need to believe in that. But without like participating in elections, we can have like the change we want, because we need to believe and we need to know that all the change and all all the change of future that we want. It's a process that can be done either in parliament or in the councils. That's why it's very important to all of us, to all the youth that they are participating with us or watching with us this amazing conference, to participate not only by voting but also into going to councils and to parliament. So I will be here available for any other questions, and thank you again.
Thank you, Nidal. That was very interesting. Thank you for highlighting the importance of political will in increasing youth participation, but also the use of such tools as social media that young leaders can really manage to improve their participation and to engage in these platforms. Well, our next speaker is Roger Padreni. Roger is a member of the delegation of Andorra to the OEC Parliamentary Assembly since 2019. He also was elected to the Parliament of Andorra during that year at the age of 25. Before, he had been the founder and president of the National Youth Forum of Andorra and representing its youth in several international conferences by UNICEF, UNESCO, OEC, and the Council of Europe. Roger, thank you for being with us today, and I'm certain that our participants would be very interested to hear, why did you decide to stand in elections when you were 25? And also, how, in your opinion, we can encourage the traditional political participation of youth, including holding on of elected office? Thank you, Roger. Please.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me as a speaker. And congratulations to the community of democracies for organizing a meeting around youth. My presentation will be structured in 3 main points. The first one, an introduction, talking about a generation in crisis. The second one, the role of the responding to an entire generation. And the third one will be final conclusions. So let's start. The first point, as I said, is the times we live in, a generation in crisis. The pandemic caused by SARS-CoV-2 has once again highlighted the particularities and fragility of youth. We are in a crisis and a post-crisis scenario that could mean a setback for the rights and well-being of citizens, especially the youth, which could be called the generation between crises, the world economic crisis of 2008 and the current health and economic crisis. In addition, this situation can make it even more difficult for the autonomy, the future prospects of young people, the exercise of full citizenship, and the goal of achieving a more just, egalitarian, and cohesive society. The current transition scenario, as I said, is open and involves a paradigm shift, as well as multitude of uncertainties for many people, especially the younger ones. For this reason, it's essential that institutions, national and international institutions, promote new policies with a youth perspective as a catalyst for a change in the social reality of this collective. That is, new policies aimed at solving the specific problems of young people. And for this to be successful, it's important that they are based on proposals previously worked on by and for the youth. This is a basic condition in order to achieve legitimacy and effectiveness of these measures. For example, in Andorra, as has been said, I am now a member of the Parliament of Andorra. We have been working for more than 8 months on the elaboration of a document that includes all the priorities and needs of young people, framing it in a post-pandemic context. Especially, this proposal agreement on youth is based on the contributions of civil society and all the political parties represented in the Parliament, as well also extra-parliamentary forces. A proposal that I hope it will be approved very soon by the Conseil General of Parliament, and a proposal that's the extraordinary thing, that it follows a bottom-up model, a proposal that is based on consensus at all stages. But this is only a state policy, and we must take into account that not only a state response will resolve shared problems among the youth. The reflections I will present below want to be a catalyst, as I said, for a change in youth policies within the framework in which we are, multilateralism and state cooperation. Because now is the time to promote supranational policy that offers real opportunities for young people in order to make decisions that affect us as individuals and as a group. a collective youth that wants to be active and a main character in the social transformation to come. So the second point, as I said, was the paradigm shift and the role of the institutions in order to resolve the current disaffection. At this point, I believe that national and international bodies, all institutions, are basic in order to promote and to reduce disaffection, because we need a national and supranational response to a whole generation of young people who have lived, as I say, two crises. Because we need to restore the confidence and the feeling that what we do here and now is worthwhile in order to improve the well-being of all young people who live, work, and rise our countries. To make this possible, I think that we need to fulfill three main objectives. The first one is a national and international will, and an understanding that youth issues transcend the boundaries of state borders. The introduction, this is the second point, of a youth perspective in all public policies, promoted by national, and as I said, also international institutions. And the third one, and I think it's the third one, the last but not the least, is giving youth a voice and decision-making, and this is very important, capacity in the national and international organizations. I firmly believe that if we achieve these three goals at national and international scale, the multilateral response will be better, because collective problems require collective responses. In this sense, yesterday it was the World Parliament Day, and from Andorra, our parliament, we hosted a roundtable, and the topic was bringing young people closer to parliament. In this roundtable, 6 youth active members of different organizations in our country, they talked about this topic, about politics and young people. The conclusion of this event, it's clear, and I think it's very related about the international movement promoted from the International Parliamentary Union, that it says that I say yes to youth in parliament. In this sense, from the same institution, some conclusions have been established this year in a report called Youth Participation in National Parliaments. Some of them are related of my personal experience in my parliament, and I think that it's important to explain these different conclusions. First of all, the report states that half of the world's population is under 30, and yet only 2.6% of MPs globally represent this age group. In my case, I am the only one under 30 of my parliament, and I think it's really interesting that you can check it in your country. On the other hand, I want to emphasize different conclusions, as I say, that are related to my personal experience, and I think that can improve youth participations in parliaments. First of all, I think it's important that government and parliaments and political parties should ensure the younger parliamentarians are provided with prominent opportunities to represent their constituents and age group. This should include membership of key committees and inquiries of youth-related issues. But this is very important also, the public policies, and I am saying that political parties also should establish or review the functioning of the youth wings and ensure that they are not simply talent pipelines for use in a distant future, but a rather conduit for giving consideration to eligible young people and nurturing them for parliamentary roles. Also, some of the conclusions that I agree, these conclusions of this report, are related saying to governments, parliaments, and political parties that regularly invite young MPs to discuss how to improve and modernize parliamentary business. And this is very important in order to include the youth perspective, as I said before. And finally, I think also that can be interesting that parliaments, but also political parties, provide additional support or mentorship of young MPs and aspiring candidates for office. And this is the last one, it's very important. This will ensure, and I agree about this conclusion, an invaluable transfer of knowledge and expertise, and I think it can make becoming a member of parliament a more attainable goal for aspiring candidates. Only to conclude, because I think we're on time, I think it's very important to say that each state must give an answer from all its institutions, both governmental or parliamentary, to the youth generation. But as I said before, state action only is not enough. Cooperative action from all states is needed. As it has been said, I am now a member of the OCPA, and also from that institution, I have proposed to create a forum of young parliamentarians, and also the figure of the special representative on youth and security. two changes that I think that could improve the politics that are nowadays promoting from that institution, and two changes that I think that if they can be promoted will include the youth perspective in all the politics that are promoted from the OCPA where I'm from. I think that multilateral action that includes the perspective of youth in everything that is done and decided, it's important. A multilateral action that promotes and increases the confidence, and this is very important, that increases the confidence of the new young generations to our national and international institutions. I think that now is the time to promote from national and international institutions a policy of youth participation that at the same time recognizes the strengths, the interests, and the skills of young people, offering real opportunities for us to participate in the decision-making processes that affect us as individuals, but also as a group. Today, young people are unwittingly a generation in crisis. The world economic crisis of 2008 and the current health and socioeconomic crisis of 2020. We are not directly responsible for them, but we want to contribute on the solution. And to do that, we need to have our own space, an opportunity to raise our voices. We need to be part of the decisions that are made regarding our future and to contribute to the public debate for our needs and demands to be heard and tended to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roger. And thank you for describing your work and initiatives that you're aware of in the Parliament of Andorra, but also at the international level. And we would appreciate if you could share with us the report that you were talking about youth participation, maybe in the chat to share with participants or also later at the event. Well, now we will go to our very impressive youth lead from Estonia, Laura Danilis. Laura is the youngest member of the City Council of Tartu. She also recently graduated from the Estonian Aviation Academy and has joined Academy's Board of Research and Development. Laura is also Estonian ambassador at the European Democracy Youth Network. Laura, what was your experience in getting elected as the member of the City Council? And what are the barriers for youth political participation at the local level that exist in your country? And how did you overcome them?
First of all, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be with you here today. Talking about my experience, I think I had a very good and challenging also interesting experience because honestly speaking, it sounds like a cliché.
Laura, we cannot hear you. Could you please unmute?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like a cliche, but my life changed extremely after the elections when I got elected. So I have always been very interested in politics, but would have never imagined myself in this. So if I got an invitation from my party to join, first I thought that, oh, this is not for me, but then I realized that this is my chance to do something. And I was like, okay, I will try. The whole situation was very new for me because I didn't have any idea what to expect. And the most important thing for me was to be very available for my voters because being a young women, it's not too easy to get elected. You can maybe show one picture, Tarja, as well, me doing some campaign. So it was my most important thing to be as visible as possible. And in this picture, you can see me together with the mayor of Tartu and a leader of our party, former leader of our party right now. So I tried to do as much campaign as possible, and I think I managed because I got elected in 2017. So since then, I'm a member of the City Council. So I have always tried to be a good example in terms of youth inclusion and policy making, and that's the reason why I decided to run for the elections. Talking about barriers, to be honest, from my point of view, there are no barriers in Estonia because Estonia is just so democratic country. So there are no like issues. You have to be member of one party or another party, because Estonia, yeah, we're open to every kind of political views, political parties, and I think we do not have like this kind of strong barriers and boundaries. So what would make being a candidate a very difficult. I think one like barrier or issue what could be is the financial part, because people always think that if you want to make a good campaign or you want to be visible, you need very much money, but actually I did my campaign with 10 euros because I bought business cards to give them to my voters, and that was actually all. And I think that that's a good example to show that this is not necessary to have like thousands of euros. You can do it by yourself. And yeah, I think once again, it's really important to be as visible as possible. And what was mentioned before, use social media to the max, because you know our voters are usually online, so they can see what you're doing in social media. But Estonia, what we have done here in order to bring more people and especially youth into political processes is that we have lowered voting age. For example, in local elections, we did it in 2015, and when I was a candidate in 2017, young people got the chance to vote. It was 19, but they lowered it to 16. So I think it's really important to give the chance to vote to more young people and lower the age in order to have more voters in the future. And the other barrier could be people's attitudes, because I think we all know that if you are young, people think that you don't know anything, or you are not like really experts in some kind of field. But I think the most important thing is to show them that age is just a number, and if you can say something on those topics, you think you are able to say something. I think it's really important. And to conclude, I think in order to get elected or to be a candidate, I think you just must have desire and will, and that's all you need in order to get elected.
Thank you, Laura. Your story sounds very inspiring, to be honest. And our next speaker is Tomas Martineitis. He's CoD Youth Lead from Lithuania. And Tomas is the Deputy Mayor of the Akmenė District Municipality in Lithuania. He completed his studies in public governance, political science, and international relations. And he's interested in pro-democracy movements in Lithuania's neighboring countries, among others. Thank you for joining for this discussion today, Tomas. And we would be eager to hear what are the efforts or initiatives to improve youth participation and inclusion in political processes that are being implemented in your municipality, but also maybe there are some that you are aware of at the national level. Tomas, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. First of all, I also want to thank for this possibility to be a presenter, and it's also very inspiring for me to listen for other stories. It's very fruitful and inspiring for myself. Today in my presentation, I will try to give you 2 points of view. First of all, my own experience by working in this local government in small municipality, and the second part of my presentation will be about national level politics and how to inspire and improve the youth politics participation and inclusion in both fields. So first of all, about my own experience from the local perspective, and I would like to present you 3 basic topics. What I would like to tell you about. First of all is the go to youth. Second one is try to create tradition. And the third one is trust youth in advance. I must say that my ideas are very similar what our colleagues already said, but to start from my own experience, well, go to the youth. Many politicians like to say that my doors are always open to you. Please come, share your ideas. But I want to say that, yeah, young people are not so brave, and even though that it's said that the doors are open, but it's not so easy to enter the floor. So I would like to share the experience what we are doing here in Akmenė, in my municipality. We try to go to youth. First of all, we try to talk with them in spheres where what the young people are doing. For example, I personally establish a tradition every week, every Tuesday, to start a Facebook Live translation from my city to share what's going on interesting this week, and I always encourage invite some other guests to share his own ideas and perspective and encourage communication. But we also use other social media tools, and we also go to the youth centers, to the youth organizations, in order to hear what youth are interested in, what are the problems they're facing, and together with the youth, try to find a solution how to solve those problems. The other example is create a tradition and create a platforms of communication. What I'm talking about, we here in Akmenė, we also have this very active youth council. And youth council, I know it's not going everywhere, but I mean that the youth council that we're doing here in Lithuania and in my municipality is like that half members of the youth council are the young leaders, other half is the city council members or people who are working in administration. This is the traditional platform that gathers together at least once in a couple of months, just in order to share their own ideas, just in order to talk about different themes, and it helps youth to be on the same table with the politicians and to discuss, to share ideas. And this is traditional platform that helps us to communicate. The other example is every year we celebrate a week of local government in Lithuania, and we, mayor of our district, I myself are doing a lecture in schools about the importance of civil participation, about what a local government is. And by this, we're visiting the people of younger ages and just present them why does democracy is important, why the local government is important, and what real local government means. And we also have this informal tradition like the breakfast or informal dinner with politicians, with the mayor itself, with the actual pancakes, with the actual coffee, and yeah, just in informal environment, eating pizza together and discussing what is important to the youth. By doing this, we breaking those social barriers. When the, for example, young leader of 16 years old, he is not so encouraged at first to discuss with a serious politician with a costume about the problems that they are facing, but this informal meetings, this informal environment helps a lot. The third topic that I want to mention is trust youth in advance. It's very much what already Roger and Laura said, that include young people in the political campaigns as a candidates themselves. And I must say that 8 years ago, the mayor of Akmenė trusted myself and invited me to be his advisor. I started as an advisor, I became a council member, now I'm deputy mayor of Akmenė. And before this trust, I couldn't enter in the political sphere. But this trust that was shown to me, it helped me to become a professional politician. We also want to encourage in the whole Lithuania the successful story that Laura has told about Estonia, that in local elections, young people should vote from the age of 16. And what we mean that because of the local elections, we live in a regional municipality, and people finish their schools here in Akmenė and goes to the bigger cities to study. But because they leave the city from the age of 18, when they vote when they are 18, they already voting for the government that will lead as city council of the city that they want to live anymore. So we feel that it's very important for the youngsters, at least in the local government elections, to vote from the years of 16, because for a couple of more years, while they will still be living in our local community, they will elect the government that they trust, and they will present the interests of them. And the last example of this trust in youth, after every election, president election, local government election, parliament election, because those elections are usually organized in the school system that we have here. Like every Sunday for an election, people go to the schools where there are voting cabins and vote for the candidates. Those cabins, they stay in a schools till the Monday, and on the Monday, every person from the 8 years old can also simulate the elections in this environment. Of course, we don't give them the exact same voting ballots, but yeah, it's example, but with the same names, with the same parties, with the same candidates. And because this is organized after the election, it's not a political tool of manipulation or anything, but this is the creating of the tradition of voting. And because they know that they will have the possibility to vote, they also discuss with their teachers, with their families, about the political parties, about the leaders, how they are different, and why it's important to participate in this simulation of election. And at first it wasn't easy because teachers were afraid that this somehow may be manipulated by the youngsters and something like that. But afterwards we were very happy because the interest of youngsters of election increased a lot, at least in our municipality. The other area that I want to present you is the national level. Also, 3 different topics and what I want to discuss. First of all, create a networks. Second, do a proper information campaign, national one. And the third one is talk about youth problems. So to start with create a network, I would like to present you the stories, maybe success stories of Lithuania that we have now in a creation of networks that helped us to improve the youth participation. First of all, this is a network of election observers. The name is white gloves. White gloves because they are not dark, they are clean, they are for the clean elections. That's the idea. And this was established by the youth NGOs in Lithuania, just to create a network of election observers in a younger age, for them to make sure that elections are really clean, without this illegal acts. And also this white glove system, they're also showing for the young people why it's important to participate in election, why the elections are important. And this helped us also increase the understanding of youth of the importance of the election. The other network that was great, and it was named I Know Who I Elect. And this network, they are also organized by youth NGOs, and they encourage political debates in the local government elections, political debates in the parliament election for the local seat. And those networks, they help to increase the level of democracy itself in Lithuania, but also by the youngers, because those are organized by the youngers. They get more attention for the other young people, and they are very important because they encourage the political debate that sometimes we are lacking in regional municipalities and on the regions itself. And the third example is related with the second topic: to do a proper information campaign of youth to youth. And this is the third network that was established in Lithuania. It was called I Care What I Vote. In Lithuanian, it's more interesting, but I want to show you some examples. I will try to share my screen. So just a moment. That might be the one. So every election, they organize political campaigns, encourage young people to participate. And this is the example from the last political campaign. And this is one of the famous statues in Lithuania that's national proud of us. And the young leaders, the youth who are working in this political youth information campaign, they try to hide the statue and show that youth voice in election is very important. And if you don't participate, then you are not seen, you are hidden. And this was just to show that the statue was hidden and that youth voice important. The other example is this the visual example that you see the chair with the 3 legs. Who is missing? The fourth leg, that is your voice. The other example, bicycle with only one wheel. That means that also your voice is what's most important, what makes the democracy move forward. So there are the examples of some a bit more interesting political campaign that might be used just in order to catch the youth, to make them attention and encourage for them to participate. But also this information campaign also included a young law student organization who were responsible to help to answer all the questions that were important to the young voters in Lithuania. And just to show you some numbers, in 2012 we have only 18% of youth who were participating in election. In the last president election in 2019, we had achieved 46%. It's not much. It's not enough, I believe, but the increase in the numbers is significant, and it was achieved by the successful political campaign. And the last one I want to talk about youth problems. We have a very nice success story of last parliament election when the new political party was created. The name was the Freedom Party. It was liberal-oriented party, but as Nadal said from the Morocco case, the leaders of this political party were the former leaders of youth forums, of youth organizations, and they created their own party. They managed to be seen for the younger audience. And how they made it, how they did it. They did it by speaking about the topics that are important to the youth, about the criminalization of weak drugs, about rights, of human rights, of other things, and by finding the communication networks that are important to youth. They use YouTube, they use TikTok and others, and they managed to be seen. And what showed the post-elections surveys, not the topics that we are talking were important, but they managed to activate the young people who were living in the cities of Lithuania. And because the participation of them increased, they managed to achieve the minimum requirement of political party to become the parliament party, and now they are in a majority in a political coalition in Lithuania. They are talking about problems that are actual that important for the youth. They are not afraid to talk about human rights, about the rights of LGBT and others. We started a very big political discussion in Lithuania about that, but I think this discussion is very important. And about this party, I am afraid that we haven't achieved that. To end up, I want to say that Nadal said that youth is the hope of tomorrow, and that's why it's important to talk about the problems. But what we young leaders, young politicians like to say in Lithuania, youth is not a future, youth is present. And we have to discuss about what's important to youth now, because when we talk about tomorrow, when we talk about future, the future never comes. It's always present. And if we understand what is important for the youth now, we will have successful future. And that's why it's important to be active in youth improvement, youth participation, and improve youth participation and inclusion of youth in our democratic society. So that's all of my presentation, and thank you very much for this invitation.
Thank you, Thomas, for your comments. I'm sure we can continue discussing and presenting examples during the Q&A. And we already have quite a few questions. And the first one was from Oksana Drozdovska. Oksana is from Ukraine, and she's involved in regional work. And I would like to give the floor to her.
Hi, Thank you, Daria, for inviting for this great event. Thank you for all speakers to share your experience. I have the question, how difficult for young leaders to become a politician?
And this is a question to all panelists? Or?
Yes, yes, who are ready to answer?
Roger, maybe you would like to start?
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for your question. I think that the main thing is, it's important that, as I said before, the intern democracies of the parties, they trust about the capacities of young people in order to be an active politician. And I think that's the most important, because our democratic systems, they work firstly from the parties, and the parties are the main important actors in order to promote that young people can arrive to parliaments or other institutions. So the first thing is to improve the intern democracies of the parties. I think it's crucial, because in my case, I had the opportunity 2 years ago to be part of the list and to be in a position that could be a potential position in order to enter to the parliament. Because sometimes young people, they are there, they are in a list, but they are not in an elected positions. And this only can change if the parties, they trust, as I said, the capacities of young people in order to enter in these elected positions. This is my first statement, and then if there is more debate, I will say something more.
Thank you, Roger. I saw that Thomas was also interested in answering.
Yeah, to say how easy it's to done, I think the question is how bad you want it, and what are you ready to give up for it. I think Lithuania is it's not so difficult to become a politician, at least at a local level, because at least in the regional areas of Lithuania, I feel the lack of young leaders who are willing to participate in the political system. Because, however, in Lithuania, in society in general, there are quite a critical point of view towards politics. And I think Laura talked about it, that still not so many young people want to go to politics because they think that is dirty business, dirty interest. It's not easy. But other thing that I want to tell you that, well, for me, it's not that easy because, yeah, you're still young. It's also related with the money that you earn, that you have to keep up, and in politics it's not so easy to become to get a position where you can get a normal salary, that long-lasting one. But other thing is that, well, we are young people, we are creating our families. I myself have one daughter and other daughter coming, and to organize political career with a family responsibilities, it's not that easy. It's not that easy all the time. It's very important of the people who are around you. Do you have the support of your personal life? So yeah, in general, it's not that difficult, but it's always depend on a team, on a family that you have, and also on the willingness for yourself to do it.
Thanks, Thomas. And Nidal?
Yeah, actually, I share the same opinion with my dear friend. Actually, when you are into politics or a politician, you are not anymore for yourself. You are for other people. So it's in a personal level, it's very difficult to follow it. But actually, I just want to send a message. We need to believe that if we want to have something, we can. If we want, we can. And we need not to be the type of the boss politician, but we need to be the leader politician who have not only followers but who have other leaders, and to that he's helping other to be also leaders in the upcoming future. That's what I just want to mention. Thank you.
Laura, would you like to add?
Yeah, I agree with the previous speakers, but some things I want to add. Definitely, it's very difficult to get elected if you are a young person. But yeah, what was mentioned before, it depends on a party. And what I can say is that my party is very open-minded, open for new ideas, open for young people. And if you have decided to enter politics, choose very wisely what kind of party you're going to represent, because yeah, in politics it's all about parties, and of course this party has to represent your values and principles, but still choose very wisely which party you will join. And I think another aspect here is that if you want to be like very strong politician, you should start building up your like background, which is very like valuable, and people around you see that okay, she or he has something he or she is passionate about. And it's all about like collecting some credits from your friends, from your relatives, from the other members of your party. So if you want to be the person who people take seriously, you should have like really strong background, education, and so on. So if you want to do something, people must trust you, and that's how you can build the trust. And yeah, I think that's all. Thanks for the question.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Oksana. And now we'll go to Lou Argueta from Salvador. Lou is our CoD youth lead.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Congratulations to every single one of you. You're doing amazing things. So my question revolves around something that's happening in my country, in El Salvador. I think we can all agree that youth participation in political processes and institutions, it's very important, but I think we've also, at some point in our lives, we also have heard that being young doesn't necessarily make you great at public service. So in our most recent elections, various youth from the current president's party were elected as members of parliament, but rather working for the people and towards democracy, they're actually catering to an authoritarian president and debilitating institutions. So my question is, do you have any advice for youth that are going into politics and for them to ensure that they actually fight for these democratic principles and for the rule of law? Thank you.
Lou, and we're directing this question to everyone.
Yes, anyone who wants to answer.
Comments?
Yeah, if I can, it's a very difficult question. Thank you for it, to be honest. And I believe Gandhi has said that if you be the change that we want to see in society, and we are the young people of our community, of our society. And I believe what I talked in my presentation, if we don't do a change, then who will? We are the youngsters. We have how to say, advantage of possibility of making mistakes. Maybe sometimes we have advantages of the years that may come for us, and even though in some cases it is difficult to work and it's not easy, but it helps us to gather some experience, to create the networks that are important. And it's not easy, but it's very important. It's very important not to give up, not to lose your hope. And I think to what Laura said, by doing what you are doing, by showing the result of your work, you can earn trust, you can create a network that step by step, hit by hit, may destroy the wall. And you know that sometimes the small stone can encourage the big fall. The small snowflake starts a big snow wave. So it's important not to give up. It's not important not to give up. And as a youngsters, so we should do it. We should do it because for others it might be even more difficult, for those who have bigger responsibilities, family responsibilities, work responsibilities. And yeah, keep your hope and do what you do. It's very important.
I just Maybe I just want, yeah. I just want to add the same point. It's the most important. It's not to give up. Your speech was amazing. The most important in politics or being a very successful politician is not to give up, to believe in it, and to believe in what you are doing, and to fight in what you believe in. Especially now we are talking about democracy. We need to believe in the democracy. We need to believe in the election, and we need to fight for it to go inside and not from outside. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadal, and thank you, Lou, for the question. And we also have a question from Megan. She's with the World Movement for Democracy. And there is a question for Roger and Laura. First, what is one effective strategy you have used to connect with youth to encourage them to participate in politics? And do you have one piece of advice for those aspiring to run for office? Roger, would you like to start?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for the question. As I said before, here, for example, in my country, we have promoted a youth agreement, 72 measures with a youth perspective, work out by and for young people. The agreement has had two phases. The first phase was worked by youth associations, and the second between members of the parliament, based on agreements reached by youth associations. And all phases are based on consent. It has been a pleasure, and when we have entered 2 weeks ago, we entered this agreement here in the parliament. It was a day of full happiness, because as you can imagine, as the only young parliamentarian in my parliament, it was extraordinary to include this youth perspective in a youth agreement promoted, as I said, from youth and for youth. And the other thing, and the other question, I don't know if you want that I answer the other question, or firstly I stop, because
please go ahead.
Yeah, I go. Okay, the other question, if I have any advice for those aspiring to run for office, the first thing is don't be shy and participate as often as you can. And if you ever are in office, above all, never disconnect from social movements, from what happens in society, and continue to participate in all spaces of formal or informal youth participation. This is very important, because I think that not only the age has to be the difference, if not the way of doing politics, or the time of when we are here in office. I think that we have to make the change in the way of doing this kind of politics. And as a young, one thing that I have in mind is always being connected with all the social youth movements that are in my country. This is very important in order to have in mind the different priorities, the different needs of the youth people here in my country. And I suppose that can be applied in all your countries. And this is very important in order to connect what it happens here in the parliament, what it happens in politics, to connect it to what it's nowadays need, or the different needs of our societies.
Thanks, Roger. Laura?
So yes, my first advice would be the same. So yes, if you plan to run for the office, then yes, just do it. Because my mindset when we had elections and when I ran, I had this kind of mindset that I have nothing to lose, only to win, and I still have the same thought in my mind. So this experience which I get, and all these people I have met so far, I think that's only a win. And even if you don't get elected, don't be sad, because you have got a very good experience, and you can run next time again. What else? Advice is to use social media as much as possible, because what I mentioned before, our voters are mostly in social media and online media, but don't forget to be visible as well. And I think one of the important thing is that you should have your own story or your own message. Why you want to get elected, what are the things you stand for, and yeah, I think that's really important to have your own message or story in order to be a good candidate and in order to get elected. And I think that what I would like to emphasize is that young voters need young and inspiring candidates. So it means that if you are, for example, 20 years old, yes, you can do it, but I think you can relate with somebody who is in your age, not in age of 60 or something like this. So I think we need more young people into politics because that's the way how we can have more young people in the politics. So we need young candidates, and then we can have more voters, young voters, and that's how it goes. I think if you want to run, it's important not to be arrogant or have this kind of attitude that I know everything. You must always be very open to learning and open to new ideas, and also I think like it's really important to listen to the others, and even if you think maybe not the way your party thinks something is, say it out loud, and yeah, just be open to learning and say what you think. And also an advice is that call for support. For example, your family, your friends, your relatives, and the others. It's really important that your family and your friends support you. And then you can think about the others, talking about your potential voters or so on. It's really important to start, firstly start from your family and your friends. And also, what was what I liked, what I wanted to add before was that it's really important to do different kind of voluntary work. So if you want to be connected with youth organizations, what Roger said, it's really important to do voluntary work and be a volunteer in different kinds of events and so on. And I think it's really, really important. And if you want to enter the politics or you have already entered, don't think what you will get from there. Think what you can give. So I think that's all from me.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Roger. And there was also one question from Megan directed to Nidal. What strategies have the youth councils found to be effective in building trust among youth?
Actually, the first step that we did into the youth council in Morocco, it was to bring, as I said, to bring the trust to the youth. And one of the major programs that we work on was to doing like monthly meetings with the politicians in the city with different backgrounds. We don't care about their background, but we care about bringing the trust to the youth. So that was the first step to the process to bring in the trust to the youth in the local level as a strategy that we did in Morocco. Monthly meeting with politicians and with people who are leading the councils of city to bring the trust to youth, to be the connection between the youth leaders around the city.
Thank you, Nidal. And I will also use my privileged position as a moderator to ask everyone quite simple, but also fundamental question, and why it is important for youth really to engage in electoral processes and in politics generally. Maybe we can start with Thomas this time.
Well, I believe to answer this question is why it's important for youth to participate and to be in politics. As I answer to the colleague from Salvador, because we youth sometimes are better to take a risk, to talk about the topics that are probably not so popular, I can say, in our society. I mean, like LGBT rights that sometimes it's a taboo in traditional politics, as an example, or other things that we see that others more serious politicians are afraid to talk about because they are following the popular opinion or something. So yeah, we as a youth, we have this privilege of age, privilege of make a mistake, privilege of do something a bit maybe sometimes stupid, but a bit brave. So this is important that for young people to participate, because we're allowed to do this. And for myself, what's inspiring myself, I could say that as I told you, that the general opinion about politics in Lithuania, it's quite a critical one. And I want to show that others that it's important to be in politics, because it's a real possibility to change a living condition that we are doing, to create a necessary infrastructure that's important, or to solve the issues that are critical. And it's important for youth to participate, or otherwise the decision will be made by those who are not familiar with youngster problems, who are more oriented toward the elder generations, voters, etc. So if we do not do it, somebody else will do, and better for us if we are doing it.
Thank you, Thomas. Roger?
To conclude everything that we have talked about the different topics related to our youth participation. The only thing that I want to say is it's really important, and I'm talking not more from an individual position, if not from a collective analysis. I think that it's really important that from the different institutions to promote youth participation in order to avoid disaffection. And here we are having important problems of disaffection in our elections. There are a lot of young people that they don't want to vote, and this is a problem, a main problem, in order to promote legitimacy to the democratic system, and also to improve the youth participation and to improve and to promote the youth participation in order to arrive to the institutions, or to have the possibility that the needs of young people arrive to the institutions. And if this don't happen, we will have important problems in order to have legitimacy. And this is a problem that happens every day. And as I said before, ideas that I have spread, that like a youth agreement, proposing youth perspective measures, or measures with youth perspective, I think it's really important in order for young people to see how institutions they are working in specific measures for their specific needs. And I think that disaffection is one of the main problems that we have in our societies, and it depends on institutions in order to improve it, and in order to have institutions that represent the different needs of young people. That's the main thing I wanted to say to conclude.
Thank you, Roger. Laura, your final word on why youth participation is important and why young people should engage.
So I think we all are leaders of the future. So yeah, that's all I can say. But also the decisions we make now will affect us in the future. So once again, if we don't vote and act right now, someone else will do it for us. And no matter what kind of topic we are talking about, youth need to speak out and take an active part in decision-making processes, because yes, all we do right now will affect us in the future. So that's all.
Perfect. Thanks, Laura. And Nidal?
I will start from the last point of future. if we want something for our future, we need to be in the process. And if we believe in the democracy, we need to believe in the process of election. If we want better future laws that are good for our future and for a young leader, we need to be there. We need to be in the process, and we need to be to change, for example. And if we want better laws, we need to be in the parliament. If we want something to change in our cities, we need to be in the councils. That's why it's very important to all of us as the youth and as young leaders to be in the process of the elections.
Thank you, Nadal. All of your comments were very inspiring. And as we're getting closer to the end of the event, I would like to thank our speakers and also participants for joining today's session to speak about the importance of inclusive political processes that establish the foundation for responsive, participatory, and also representative decision-making. And as we saw, despite the progress made in advancing youth participation in politics, youth are often still underrepresented as candidates and elected officials. But at the same time, we observe the positive trend in many places of the world of increasing youth participation as voters. And thank you for staying with us today. We'll look forward to hosting you for another discussion with the CoD youth leads. Have a nice day and take care. Goodbye.